Welcome to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast, where I share the latest, most cutting-edge ideas for the classroom, both online and in person. I'm your host, Vicki Davis, and this is episode 658, titled 21 Tools I Use to Manage Distance Learning. Now, I want to give a huge shout out to Advancement Courses for sponsoring today's podcast. I recently shared a blog post, 10 professional development courses to improve your online classroom. Check the show notes to read this important post with 10 important concepts that you can use to level up your online learning. And stay tuned at the end of the show to learn how you can get 20% off advancement courses for your professional development.
Welcome to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast, hosted by author, educator, speaker, and mom, the Cool Cat teacher, Vicki Davis. Every weekday, Vicki and her guests will help you discover powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today. Thanks, Advancement Courses, for sponsoring today's show. And now let's get into it.
So today I want to share 21 tools I use to manage distance learning. Now, these are tools that we have used to take our whole school online. And I just kind of want to take back the curtain for you and share the tools that we are using and a little bit about how we're using them at my school. We all have a different way to tackle the distance learning, but we've moved K-3 all the way through 12th grade at my school, as I talked about in Monday's episode, and we're moving forward and we're making progress. So first of all, of course, is Google Classroom. Now, we synced a Google Classroom with our student information system, RenWeb. This helped setup be so much easier because all of that information populates and just comes right in. So we don't have to have any codes and students don't have to join the class. All that onboarding is kind of handled for us. The other thing that's important is the Guardian summary and making sure you add Guardians and teaching them how to subscribe. Now, I'll admit that guardians really want to be able to log into Google Classroom and see more about what their kids are doing, but that's really a sort of a Google thing, but I do try to make sure that that is set up. Also, if they're key administrators tracking certain student progress, you can add them as a guardian and they can get those daily reports as well. Now, I always teach students to take a look at View My Classwork. That's a really important place for them to go. We also have our students in email so that they can check and get those private messages from their teachers that are so very important. Now, one definite best practice that has to do with my second one as well as Google Classroom is we do use Zoom. Now, I've talked about this before. We've got it set up. We do have a cybersecurity team. We do have our security director auditing our Zoom rooms on a continual basis and going into those. But we do set up a link and we have that at the top of classwork. We organize our classwork by day. And by having the whole school organized in exactly the same way, I can't tell you what great feedback we have gotten from our parents on being consistent throughout the whole school. So do set up consistency. These are unusual times and we want to be consistent with that. So let's move on to Zoom. Now, I use Zoom for everything. I have a help desk that I keep open from 8 to 9 every morning. Teachers know they can go in there. Students know they can go in there. But we have fallen in love with breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are fantastic ways to have short conversations. When we do teacher PD on our Wednesdays, we love to have breakout rooms and have conversations. You can also have voting, polling, all sorts of things in Zoom that are really very powerful. We tested Zoom versus Teams versus Google Classroom, and we really wanted to have the kind of granular control that you have with Zoom. Now, we did have a security checklist, and teachers were not allowed to Zoom until they passed a security audit. We're trained and went through that security checklist. You know, no system is perfect, but we are pretty fastidious about that. Now, if we have anything public, we have chapels, we have webinars, we had parent training sessions. If those public things happen, we always use a webinar room that requires pre-registration, and they really can't come in and do anything in the room since it's a webinar. So Zoom is definitely the number 2, and it's a very important piece of it. Now, number 3 is Google Slides. I use this all the time for our presentations, for our group presentations, when we have faculty meetings. I'll create a Google slide deck. Our administrators will add things. I'll add things, and we kind of move them around and then run those. So Google Slides is very useful. I also encourage teachers to use Google Slides for student assignments, particularly reflection assignments. I just think it makes it a lot easier to kind of break it down and divide the pieces. Sometimes in Google Docs, kids can get a little bit lost unless you sort of make a table and you have really clear squares. It is just so easy for kids to accidentally delete everything and then say, oh, I did it. And they got rid of the last 10 questions or whatever. So for me, I love Google Slides for that. Now, number 4 is a newcomer for me. I learned about a year and a half ago when I was in Moscow, but it's Wiser. My friend Nira is the CEO of Wiser, and think of it as worksheets, but I don't really even like to use the term worksheets because it's so much more. It's completely differentiated. So every question can be given in text, in audio form, or in video form, and every question can be answered in text, audio, or video form. You can also differentiate based on learner profiles, which is so important. They have recently added a timer feature so that once a student opens it, they have a certain amount of time to get it finished, not by question. That's a drawback from quizzes, is that it times those questions, and I don't like that. But you can also unlock and lock, so it gives you just so much customization ability. You can also schedule a go live date. So you can say, okay, I want it to go live tomorrow. And once they click on that link, I want to give them 30 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever the time is to be able to do that. The other thing is, based on their learner profile, you may give different questions, and you can even tag kids privately and give them different questions based on that, but it's all just one link. Now, I did a full huge thing on my YouTube channel with Nira from Wiser, about a 30-minute demo. So if you go to youtube.com/coolcatteacher, you can take a look at that Wiser demo that I've uploaded, and it's very useful. And number 5 is EdPuzzle, and this is my favorite way to attach videos. Now, if the video watching is optional, you can just attach it to Google Classroom the way that you're used to. But if you want to make sure that students watch and also ask questions, you want to use EdPuzzle. They do have the ability to upgrade right now for the time being, and it's just a fantastic tool to use to kind of split up those videos, to add your own voice. Extremely powerful way to share video content and somewhat flip your classroom, because, when you're only Zooming for an hour a whole week, you're going to have to deliver that content and share that information other ways. I also like EdPuzzle because I can pause it and say, okay, do this. And then when you come back, click OK, and we can move forward. You can also assess inside it. So it's just a fantastic tool. Number 6 is quizzes. Now, admittedly, we've had a little bit of trouble getting quizzes in Google Classroom to talk lately. I'm not sure if that's the volume they have. The other thing that happens is what we famously now call the browser disconnect. So when your parents are using Google Classroom, they have got to set up a profile in Chrome for each of their kids. Set up a profile in Chrome, and then you want to make sure that the top little circle has your profile in it, and the bottom little circle has the same profile in it. When you have a different user signed into the browser as you do the browser window, you start having crazy things happen with Google Classroom, EdPuzzle, and quizzes. So what will happen is, let's say your mom is signed into the browser, but you're signed into the window. When you click on that link to go to EdPuzzle, a lot of times EdPuzzle will take the profile that is logged into the Chrome browser, and so it looks like your mom is taking it and not you, and those grades won't pull back over. It's a real problem that is happening. And so I have a tutorial that I send parents on how to make sure that this browser mismatch problem doesn't happen. So that's one problem. But even when it's right, sometimes those quizzes questions aren't pulled directly across. So just know that there seems a little bit of glitch there, but it's still a fantastic tool. You can use Quizlet. People use other tools, but I do like quizzes. Number 7 is iExcel. Now, iExcel has some good and some bad points. iExcel is a diagnostic tool. Do not use iExcel to do math quizzes or verbal quizzes or whatever, because there's a special algorithm they use that is based on ability or performance. So you may miss one question and it's going to take 5 more questions getting right to move back up, because it's trying to measure mastery. Now, 100 is mastery, but they say that 90 is excellent and 80 is good. Well, I don't know about you, but that doesn't quite equate to the middle or high school or even elementary school classroom. And you definitely, if you use iExcel, want to assign the skill. If you don't assign the skill, it's very likely that a child will end up picking a skill that's not appropriate for them. And I've literally seen kids get in tears. So don't just say, go pick 3 skills. Please, just don't do that. You should directly assign those skills, and then you can take a look at how those students are doing it. And I think this is particularly important because if you're pulling questions out of the textbook, it is so easy for those kids to, granted, they're trying to help each other, but then they need more practice. So it's a great diagnostic tool. I'd probably set a time limit on it, see how they're doing, and then see where you need to reteach. Do that one-on-one. Now, number 8 is WeVideo. If you need a quick trim of your Google file that you've basically taken Zoom, you've downloaded that file, you've converted it, you've uploaded it to Google Classroom, and then you need to trim off the beginning or end. Say you forgot to start the recorder or you started recording too soon. You can just pull that into WeVideo and do that and then send it right back to your Google Drive. And again, you can apply to have WeVideo for your whole school and use that for editing. So that's number 8. Number 9 is Google Sites. Now, I've made a teacher help site for quite some time, but I've also now made a student help site. And at the top of the student help site, I have whether things are up or down. So I've got the little green or the little red button if it's up or down. So, you want to tell people how the different platforms that you use are working and whether they're up or down. So I'm really building out our student help site so they can find answers for themselves without needing me, especially the browser mismatch problem. Now, number 10 is Adobe Premiere Pro. If I want to take those webinars that we're doing or the parent orientations, I want to make things just look so much better. So I use Adobe Premiere Pro for that to add things on the top and that sort of thing. It gives me a lot of powerful editing tools. Now, if you've never used Adobe Premiere Pro, I do not recommend doing it now. I teach digital film and am pretty good with all the Adobe products and can use it pretty quickly. Pick what works for you. Now, a little bonus that I'm not adding officially on my list, but I do use Render Forest for my bumpers, my pre and my post to just look really professional for my school. So I pull those into Adobe Premiere Pro, edit them down, and then put them together. Now, we do this for our chapel services. We do one for the high school and middle school, and then one for the elementary. I do stream that through Zoom. We pre-record, and I have a really solid internet. So when you have people who need to appear who don't have great internet, sometimes it's better to get them to go ahead and record the video ahead of time, and then you stream it, and then just check the little box that you can share your sound and optimize for video inside Zoom and just play that video. So that's what I've been doing, producing those and getting music. And we've even got a music site that has licensed it for web viewing. So we can just download those videos and have those in there for the kids. But video production is a big part of what I do. In fact, as I'm recording this, I've got a whole bunch of files dumping onto a new hard drive that I had to buy, a 5 terabyte hard drive, because I keep filling up my hard drive. So if you're editing a lot of film, that's something you definitely need just for this time. Now, number 11 is Canva. I use this for the graphics for my podcast, but I also use it for thumbnails, for just about everything. It's just a fantastic tool that's just so helpful. Now, number 12 is Screencastify. This really quick recorder is such a great tool. It just really helps you do quick recordings, quick screencast. I wanted to say congratulations to a student about something, and I did that in Screencastify. Just a little plug-in. I teach my teachers to do it. Just makes life so much easier. So the next one, number 13, is Google Sheets. Now, I've created a master administrative dashboard that has teacher names, the times they're in class with a little checkbox, the links to their Google Classroom, the links to their Google Classroom gradebook, and the links to their Zoom room. And then I've learned how to do this thing called filter views, where I can have on a front sheet and I have like the teacher names, and they can just click on the teacher names and it'll filter and take them into the view in the administrative dashboard. I also have it by day, so they can click on Tuesday and see everything in order that's going to go live on Tuesday and click and get those links. So Google Sheets, we're using it to organize everything from our awards events or awards shows to just about everything else. So Google Sheets is a really handy tool. Even our security audits, as we're auditing Zoom, we have a security audit form that we just fill out, and that just makes life so much easier. Now, number 14, Microsoft has given Minecraft away now until June, and we've had a little bit of tricky time trying to get this activated because we had been purchasing and paying for Minecraft, and our reseller has kind of had a little issues with that. But I'm going to have my students building the 7 ancient wonders of the world in Minecraft, and that kicks off on Monday. I'm also teaching an artificial intelligence course based on the book by Jason Thacker about that topic. And it's going to be a 4-week mini course that is an optional enrichment course that I'll be offering for most of our students. So these optional enrichment activities are a great way for those students who have better bandwidth and maybe do want some enrichment and are able to do that. And number 15, of course, is Google Docs. Google Docs has so many great features. We built our playbook in Google Docs. I do use that quite a bit. and it is still great. It's just Google Docs is not for everything. Some people try to use Microsoft Word for everything. Well, it's not great for everything, and Google Docs is not great for everything, but just make sure you know how to add table of contents and you use those headings, because if you have a really long document, like our digital learning playbook, it just makes it so easy to navigate that. And number 16 is a Nearpod. Now, I ran my first Nearpod inside the Zoom the other day and actually ran very well. They have some information on their website about how to do this, but instead of having a PowerPoint that's just static, it lets you embed all your formative assessment and a lot of interactive tools right inside. The only thing is you'll have Zoom up and you'll either have to have them have Nearpod up in front of it or have their phones out as well. So I don't really think it's going to have a lot of bandwidth issues, but if you do it, you might want to have kids who have bandwidth issues turn off their video so that they can just focus on the Nearpod piece of that. But it is a really cool tool that is very helpful. Now, 17, 18, 19 come from some of my teachers. I have a teacher in kindergarten using Marco Polo, and she sends out the video about how to do something, and then they send them back to her. And it's just a really cool little way that she's using that. She's also integrated it with Google Classroom, so that's a fantastic thing that you can do. I've also got some teachers who love Class Dojo, and they're doing a lot of sharing and that sort of thing, and also have integrated that with Google Classroom. And then some are just using Remind. The big piece here is that whatever teachers are used to using, as well as parents, and you've already got that conduit going, don't cut that off, because some parents are in habit there. So just remember that there's options that you can do with that. Now, number 20 is the Read Write toolbar, and you can do voice dictation in there. So you can dictate in Google Forms, you can do all kinds of things. So your kids with accessibility issues is fantastic. Also, people who really struggle with typing and now you're having to type a lot, you can use that. But it also especially lets you leave voice feedback, which I absolutely love voice feedback, especially for writing assignments inside Google or inside Google Slides. So do check out the Read Write toolbar. Of course, it's free for educators. Now, number 21 is not an app. It's actually Post-it notes. I use sort of a Kanban system. I have a sort of list where I keep all my on-deck activities. I have my things that I'm doing where I keep that. I have a little place on the board for admin meetings. So anything that I need to talk about in my twice daily admin meeting, I will put that in my sticky note, my little tiny sticky note there. But before I mark to it is finished, I just like that term, I have an evaluate, celebrate, reflect column. Now, before I mark it as totally done, I look at the item and I say, okay, is this something that I can add to the teacher help site? Or is this something that needs to be added to the student help site? Where does this need to be added so that I can help future people who have this problem? How can I proactively do that? Or do I just want to have a celebration and say, hey, I did this, I accomplished this, I'm so excited. And then I mark it is finished. And I take those Post-it notes down and I put them on the back of my calendar page so I know what I did that day. Not that it's too hard to see what I did because I'm doing a lot. So I will record some more encouragements for all of you later, but I did want to share these 21 tools that I use to run distance learning. Now, I can't stop the show without thanking today's sponsor. Advancement Courses is today's sponsor, and they are a #1 resource for educators' online learning. They offer over 280 graduate-level PD courses in 20 different subjects, all self-paced with up to 6 months to complete. So go to advancementcourses.com/coolcat and save 20% by using the code COOL20. All courses are available for either graduate credit through their CAEP and regionally accredited university partners, or for continuing education hours that meet your state requirements. Check out the 10 professional development courses to improve your online learning at coolcatteacher.com/leveluponline. Now, with Advancement Courses, you'll never stop learning. So thank you, Advancement Courses, for sponsoring today's show.